road trying to pay attention. But, yeah, if you're a Clemson fan, you know that Clemson lost today 31-30. That was the final, right? 31-30. We were at the game, man. My son were at the game. And yeah, I mean, congratulations, South Carolina. I mean, you broke the 7-year streak. We know it had probably been 8 year had we not been playing games with COVID, but you won the game, and congrats to y'all. But really, if you are a Clemson fan, before I get into that, if you're new here, this is my serious channel. I'm not Bobby Durkin, so if you're new here, hit the subscribe button and pass it along to anyone. So as I'm driving back here, I've been talking to a few friends of mine. Parker Henderson, he's actually on here. Talked to my dad, who's a big Clemson fan. My father-in-law and my son, they're Gamecock fans, so they're really happy. We went to the game, and it was nerve-wracking to say the least, but the Gamecocks won. But what are my thoughts on Clemson? First of all, I tell you my thoughts on Shane Beamer. Shane Beamer reminds me of Dabo Swinney before he won anything. And what I mean by that is when Swinney hadn't won a thing, he was not a two-time national championship coach. Swinney was upbeat. He was aggressive. He was hungry. He wanted to see his team well. And that watching Shane Beamer reminds me a lot of the old Dabo Swinney, the Swinney who has not won one thing. Okay, so there's that. As far as Clemson goes, I believe that in 10 to 15 years, when people are looking through the history books and they see the players that is actually on this Clemson team right now, they're going to go, hold on, you mean KJ Henry was on that team? Yeah. Brian Brisset was on that team? Yeah. Were they hurt that game? No, they played. Trenton Simpson? Yeah, they played. Will Shipley? Yeah. Bo Collins? Yeah, they were on that. Davis Allen? Yeah. And then they're going to go, they lost to South Carolina? I mean, I know South Carolina just came off that big win against Tennessee, but I'm just saying the talent that Clemson has overall is much greater than South Carolina. And they've already got shellacked by Notre Dame. You know, if Notre Dame beats Clemson in South Bend by, a touchdown or less, you could step back and say, well, it was just a good game that was fought. It was hard fought. And Notre Dame played the game of a lifetime. And they just came out, they were the better team. And no offense to Notre Dame, I've also talked about I'm actually a team that I pull for. I actually pull for Notre Dame on the side. So everybody's really shocked about that, and I have no ties to the school. But I actually like Notre Dame. I'm one of those weirdos who's a big Clemson fan, but they like Notre Dame. So there we go. But with that said, Notre Dame is in a transition period, big time. New coach that had some bad losses, that had some good wins, but they had bad losses. So it was really losing by a touchdown or less to Notre Dame, that would have still been an upset, but you would say, oh, that was an upset. What did Clemson do when they played Notre Dame? They got their head ripped off by 21 points. What did Clemson do in this game today? They were down, or they were up 14-0. The Valley was rocking. You had Jeremiah Trotter Jr., who was a big recruit. Of course, his dad is All-Pro, very well known in the NFL. Jeremiah Trotter hits the junior part, and he picks it off, runs it back for a touchdown. Clemson comes out, scores. It's 14-0, and you go, good, they're rolling. What does Clemson do? They lay down and die like a cockroach. And it's not the players, folks. Players. If you think this is the players, you're wrong. It's the people who's being paid $700,000, $1 million, 1.5 to be OCs, DCs, positions coaches. Those are the problems. And then it leads all the way back to Sweeney. And I'm just telling you, the same Sweeney that won the national championships is not the same Sweeney that's coaching right now. And I know if he heard that, well, first of all, you care less because he has a lot of success. He can say, who was that guy? Well, I'm the guy who was sitting up in the stands, who could look at that massive jumbo scoreboard that they have up there, this big jumbo screen. And the entire game, the stats were alive. The stats were alive that South Carolina only had about 38 rushing yards, but they had thrown for 225. Well, it doesn't take an MIT graduate to realize that, they're really not running the ball against us well. We need to key in on the pass. We really need to focus on the pass because that's where they're getting us. The 4th down and 1 play where South Carolina went T formation, threw the ball over the top, I just want to tell you right now, South Carolina or not, what a brilliant play call. What a flippin' brilliant play call. Brilliant. I don't care if it was I don't care if it was the Fighting Doo-Doos of Butthole State that called that play. That was a great play call. That was an incredible play call. And you don't see that on Clemson's sideline. You don't see it on their offensive side especially. And but you would think that on the defensive side, they would say, you know what, I think we've got the run more than in control. We need to take care of the pass. They did not do that. And that's bothersome on the defensive side. When it comes down to special teams, we saw some really weird errors. First off, Antonio Williams, I'm not going to dog the guy. He's a true freshman. He has played great all season. He has done some incredible things. And the guy's just, I'm telling you, he's made guys like E.J. Williams, which I just think he's going to transfer out. E.J. looks like he doesn't even want to be there. His freshman season, he looked amazing. And I'm just going to throw this out there as well. If anybody comes up and goes, well, man, it came out that E.J.'s hurt, and that's the reason, then why is he on the field, man? If players are hurt, why are they on the field? Because all they're doing is drawing criticism for people like myself who's logically saying, why would you put a hurt player on the field? I mean, somebody grow a brain here. Or the kid just doesn't want to be at Clemson anymore. He dropped one very, very easy pass to catch. One was more aggressive, but then again, this guy was a 4 or 5 star athlete. And when he caught the pass, it was just like, I could almost hear Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh saying something like, "Aw shucks." It was just like nonchalant. You would have never known that the game was on the line when he dropped the ball. DJ, I do believe he got hurt during the game. And I'm not talking about bring him out to replace him the entire game. I'm saying bring out Cade to give him a moment to get his bearings back to him. And to quote someone I was talking to a little earlier, if Cade can't come out in that moment and play, exactly how bad is Cade? Which between you and I, I don't believe he's bad. I think this was once again poor coaching. We're seeing, we saw on the special team side, we saw Antonio Williams let the ball bounce all the way back inside the 3-yard line twice. Then of course there at the end of the game, he got the ball, ended up fumbling the ball. That play that you see local high school teams run after the safety, we had some momentum. We were starting to get some more momentum, and they kicked the ball off. Will Shipley runs into the huddle. Phil Maffa gets the ball. Love Phil Maffa. And, I mean, it was all of this stuff, folks. comes back to poor coaching. If you troubleshoot something, you don't look at the guy who failed and say, can you tell me why you did that? And then once they explain it to you, go, doof. Oh, okay. Well, you're paid a lot of money, so that means you know exactly what you're doing. No. No, 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 no. Matt Rule could tell you exactly the reasons that he ran plays at South Carolina, at the Carolina Panthers, and they fired him. And he had flipping Christian McCaffrey on the team. I mean, just because you can explain why you do, still doesn't make the plan good. And it's Clemson losing South Carolina. I would like to say that maybe it would wake up Sweeney. I have not seen the post game, but I'm going to take a guess at the post game. Let's go ahead and check some of these off, because some of these, a lot of people they really, I mean, it's the reason people vote for who they vote for, is because they'll sit there and believe a lie no matter what. I mean, you can show them proof and they'll still believe a lie, but I'm hoping I have a little smarter crowd here than that. But and then some of you, I just brought up politics and you got mad, and you're like, because you're an emotional basket case, it's not logical. Sweeney is going to be really upset in this post game interview. He's going to be sick about it. He'll be upset. He's going to talk about how Coach Beamer had a good team out there, and they're just the better team. They got out-coached. We got to make some changes, and we're going to have some meetings. And then he's going to, like Parker Henderson said, he's going to give some analogies about Steph Curry and how he doesn't hit all his shots, and you can't win them all. And in the early days of Sweeney being at Clemson before he won national championships, that would have never come out of his mouth. It'd have been like, this is not where we want to be. Where we want to be is winning national championships, being in contention for it, and then going and winning it. This whole, the better team won, we got to make some changes, but, you don't win them all the time, and I'm worried sick about it. All coaches are going to say stuff like that. So don't have your emotions played with in that. I mean, hopefully you won't let stupidity from politics swing over this, because politicians can say about anything and get away with it. Don't let that be the case here. I think a lot of Dabo Swinney, and I think that if Swinney would just get back to who he was when he was climbing the ladder, Clemson wouldn't have lost that game today, and they wouldn't have lost to Notre Dame. And when Trevor Lawrence and Etienne was there, they would have won one more national championship. But those guys were so good, they actually covered up mundane offensive coaching. And that's how good they were. T. Higgins, those guys there. They covered up absolutely terrible coaching, awful coaching. And especially on the offensive side. And I think what we need to realize and what we need to dive into right now is that I just don't think. I said this earlier with the Notre Dame game, and then I backed away from it. But I'm now going to stand by this statement until proven wrong, or until some things are fixed. The good old days of Clemson are over. They're done. And it's not because they lost to South Carolina, it's how they lost to South Carolina. South Carolina did not play for a game. I mean, kudos to them for taking advantage of poor play by us. But if you really want to be honest with yourself, South Carolina could have beat us worse than what they did. I know it was a 1-point win, but when Spencer Rattler threw that interception in the end zone, well, let's just say they ran the ball in. That's 38-30. So they would have lost. They would have lost more. The point here is South Carolina. Kudos to them. They took advantage. Of just poor play calling by Clemson, poor coaching, poor conditioning. When I say conditioning, I'm not even talking about the strength training team. But I'm talking about poor conditioning mentally, out on the field. The aspect of the coaches who are taking these fantastic athletes and saying, "This is what we do. This is how we handle it." They're just not doing it, folks. And I mean, if you're a 4 or 5 star athlete, do you want to go to Clemson and play right now? Well, it's after today, especially. And by the way, one of the top players in the country was there from Jefferson, Georgia. He's a linebacker. I think he's the #1 outside linebacker rated. He's got the blonde mullet and everything. Everybody, if you're on a lot of the Clemson forums, you'll know. I'll guarantee you he doesn't sign with us. Guarantee it. He doesn't. Why would he want to? So he can come be a good young man and then get a, really nice cushy job at Michelin one day? No, people want to go play in the NFL. That's what they want. And that is the problem. That is the problem with Clemson, is that the coaching, the players are there, have all the faith in the world in our players. I don't have the belief in our coaching like I did, especially on the offensive side. And believe it or not, I'm starting to have some questions about Wes Goodwin. I've given him the benefit of the doubt, but today, when I, as just a novice, I like football. I've been watching it for years. When I can look up and see the live stats that South Carolina can't run the ball, they can't run the ball against us if you put a gun to their midsection, but they can throw the ball on us. Well, let's key off on the pass. Well, they didn't do that. They were ready for the run every time they went to run the ball. They could not stop the pass. Good play calling by Shane Beamer, his squad. They took advantage of it. We, as Clemson fans, we've taken a lot of shots at Spencer Rattler. And Spencer Rattler, I mean, he has played poorly parts of the season. Parts of it was his O-line. Parts of it was just him. But he came out and he just kept plugging away, and that's how they won. That's how they won the game. But Clemson does not need to do soul searching. Sweeney doesn't need to do soul searching. He needs to start hanging out pink slips, and he needs to, as I've been saying, do a cattle call. And a cattle call is we put out there, hey, I am going after the top coaches. I'm going after the top coaches in the country to come coach for me. And by the law of numbers, if you have a bunch of candidates, you'll find really, really good coaches who will fit. They will actually fit your culture. And what I'm about to say is going to be really, really terrible by some people's standards. Obviously, life is much more than just football. And I'm a Christian. I'm very outspoken about it. I'm a believer, and I believe one of the reasons the world today is because is in a terrible place, especially in this country, is because we've gotten away from just the biblical structure of life, family, honesty, etc. At the same time, when I go and I can try to, how can I say this? If I can frequent stores that shares my same beliefs, which I think everyone should, excuse me, and they give me a quality product, wonderful. But let's just say that one of my kids are sick and they have to go to a doctor, and the doctor is an atheist and he believes what I believe is ridiculous, but the doctor can actually help him. Well, am I going to sit here and jostle with this guy over his beliefs, or am I just going to simply let him help my kid, and I'm going to show him the kindness that I believe that I should show him according to Scripture? You following? Are you tracking with me? My point here is people want to come play football at a really good school because they're going to win at football. These guys don't want to go to work at some local school. They want to go play in the NFL and make a lot of money. So Sweeney needs to understand that it's going to be hard to impact top athletes when no top athletes wants to come to your school because you're losing. Is everybody following me? Are you tracking with me? And I'm just throwing that out there. It's very hard to impact these top athletes if they won't come play for you, because all of a sudden you're championing the culture of good young men and stuff, and they need to be good young. We don't want to be like Georgia, where every couple of months somebody's getting arrested for rape. I mean, that's ridiculous. My question is, why were they let by with that stuff in high school? Because quite honestly, it was going on, and they probably turned their head to it because they were a good football player. We don't want that. At the same time, it's almost like you're using a moral high ground to play on people going, well, aren't you glad that we're not like Georgia and we don't have... It's like, dude, you're manipulating us. Stop. All we want you to do is get back to coaching like you used to, where you were like, this is unacceptable, and I'm going to hire the very best coaches possible, come in here and coach, and, they're going to fit our culture, and they're going to, they're going to be good guys, and they're not going to be like the Miami of the early 2000s, all through the 90s and the 80s, and probably even before that. We're not going to do that. But we realize we have a football team here because we want to win, and we have the players. And I'm going to also make another bold statement. I know one of the most infamous statements that you'll hear is from Bobby Dodd. Anybody can beat anybody on any given Saturday. True, I get the sentiment. What that is saying is you better go out and play each and every game and don't take your opponent lightly. The problem is, if Clemson took the team that beat Alabama 44-16, took them up to Furman University up in Travelers Rest, South Carolina, and Furman beat them by 2 touchdowns. Would that make sense that Travis Etienne and Trevor Lawrence and T. Higgins, and we could just keep Isaiah Simmons, that they lost? No, everybody would be going, something is terribly wrong because they are superior and elite talent. That doesn't, that Bobby Dodd statement, once again, is cute and stuff, but this isn't supposed to happen because you have just elite athletes. And that's the issue with this Clemson team. Clemson has elite athletes. They have fantastic athletes. And, now that the smoke is cleared, Wake Forest is not that good of a team. NC State's not that good of a team. Syracuse is not that good of a team. And we struggled with them. We struggled with them. And that's really, really sad. Tyler, by the way, I just looked down. I'm still looking forward because I'm driving. But Tyler just said, can we be done defending DJ? I'm not going to defend him. I'm not going to stone him. I won't stone him, and I'll tell you why. The reason I won't go after him is because his coaches keep putting him out there. And his coaches keep calling terrible plays. That guy has made some good passes, so it's there. But here's I don't know if anybody's ever watched The Office on this, but The Office is one of my favorite shows. I'm talking about I watch it religiously every week. And I remember Jim was going to have to catch a ride home with Meredith. And Meredith's in the background. He's talking to the camera, and she goes, "Are you riding with me or not?" And he's just kind of like, hanging out, just talking. She goes, "Piss or get off the pot." Well, that's kind of how I feel with our offensive coaches and DJ. And you'll hear these things that kind of leaks out where they're like, they're like, we really don't trust DJ as much as we should. Now they'll never say that from the podium, but stuff leaks out through the people who just kind of talk, and it gets out into media. A couple of weeks ago, I did a video. I said that Clemson is falling apart. I had someone call me who has a very they're very close to the team, and I'll just leave it at that. And I made some statements that they said that they're falling off, that the team is they're still irritated about the NIL money. And I had a bunch of people come back to me and say, well, that doesn't make sense. Folks, does it make sense to you today that our athletes, some of them look like they don't even want to play, some of them don't even know how to properly hold on to a football? Does it not make sense to you that our coaching staff, their mind is not where it should be? Does it not make sense? Did the Notre Dame loss, and the Notre Dame loss was just like a fluke to you? Okay, today, did that? That was an insulting loss. Forget once again that it was the Gamecocks. That was an insulting loss because Clemson was up 14-0 at home. The Valley was rocking. I was there. Trust me, it was like amazing. And they blew it. That's called poor coaching, folks. So you can put on your Clemson colored glasses, and you can sing the alma mater and stick your hand up there and wave it, and you can talk about the good old days, and you can talk about this, that, and the other. And folks, I'm just telling you, I think it's done. And until Sweeney goes back to what made him successful, it's done. So, once again, I'm driving down the road. I'm about to cut off this. Bobby Durkin will be. Bobby's not in good shape right now. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that. Bobby is not in good shape. I've spoke with him. I'll tell you this. He was so mad he was mumbling stuff. And then he gets so worked up, he sounded like, have you ever had a weed eater where the accelerator on it got hung up, the little handle got hung up, and it just, that's what he sounded like. He was so mad. And, yeah, I really don't know what that video is even going to be like. But, congrats again, South Carolina. You came in, you took advantage of what Clemson gave you and what their coaching staff was willing to give you. If you lined up Clemson's if you took Clemson's lineup and you put South Carolina's lineup aside from it, or beside it, you would see a lot more talent on our side versus their side. And a lot of highly recruited players that Clemson across the board has, and that team managed to lose today, and it's because of the coaching. So if Clemson wants to continue to hire coaches because they fit the culture, and obviously the culture is just be a good guy, go to Clemson. You probably went to Clemson, might have played for Clemson, and you can regurgitate Sweeney's talking points, you're in. If that is going to continue to be that way, things are going to continue to be that way, and Sweeney's not going to operate in the way that got him to where he won 2 national championships. Take it to the bank, get mad on it, choke on it if you want, but it's still the truth. Clemson, the good old days, is over, whether it comes at the hands of South Carolina, Notre Dame, what have you. So, if you have anybody who is like really upset right now, but they need somebody to talk logical football instead of just like screaming and yelling, I would like to think I'm that guy because I love my team, but I'm going to tell the truth about them. And trust me, that's not very accepted in a lot of the Clemson circles, especially Clemson circles who owns press credentials. And they might criticize the team a little bit, but they're very, especially the coaches, they're very careful because they want those press credentials to not be revoked. And so I have no tie to the university. As far as like the press and or anything like that. So I'm just going to tell the truth. So if you want to pass this along to anyone who would like to, what I think um, would enjoy, just hearing the dialogue and how we should troubleshoot this sucker, please do pass it along. I appreciate you joining me, Carolina. It makes me want to barf, but you played a good game. Most importantly, you took advantage of the stupidity that Clemson did. The self-inflicted wounds that Clemson, they shot themselves in the foot, and instead of giving them time to bandage it up, you took your boot, stepped on that gunshot wound, and just absolutely dug your heels in. And that's what a team's supposed to do. And so we'll try to see what goes on with Clemson and how this is going to pan out. But as I've said nauseatingly over and over again, until Sweeney gets back to what got him to success, the good old days of Clemson is over. And it doesn't have to be that way. That's the saddest part. Well, I'm Brian Knight. I'm not Bobby Durkins. Bobby Durkins will be going on a little later. I just don't know when. But y'all take care of yourself. Hope you have a good weekend. And, yeah, go Tigers.